Hey guys, this is Brent with Western Equipment, and in this video we're going to be going over the John Deere grease gun lineup. Now as you can see, we've got multiple different styles here, from pump action to the pistol grip to the air gun, 2 battery units, and even a mini grease gun option. So I'm going to be telling you the specs of these grease guns, going over a few of the features, and then at the end showing you a couple of these grease guns in action, show you just how fast we can clear a tube of grease from the gun. So if you'll stick with me here, let's get started. Let's start by going over all of these grease guns, talking about specs and features. And we're going to start over here with our pump action grease guns. Now as you can see, we do have this black powder coat finish and the shiny steel finish here. And what you're going to see difference between these two is the shiny steel version is going to be your heavy duty option, and your black powder coat is going to be your standard. So starting here with our heavy duty option, like we said, both of these are going to be pump action grease guns. They're also both going to have the rigid neck here and coupler. But the differences between these two, between the heavy duty and the standard, with the heavy duty, you have a few extra options. For one, this is going to have a 3-way loading system, meaning it's going to take the standard 14-ounce cartridge. It also will take a 16-ounce cartridge, and then you also have the option for a bulk load with these heavy-duty grease guns here. Some of the other things, it is going to have the standard loading system with the pull-out handle here, with the locking to go in when you're going into the gun with the tube of grease. And then you also have the standard pressure release, making it easier to push the guide rod back in, relieving that air pressure. Now also with the heavy duty grease gun here, you're going to have a stronger head at the top that is going to allow this gun to create 10,000 PSI in pressure. Going into that heavy duty feature, being able to push more grease into those tighter spots. Now moving here to the standard, you're going to have basically the same setup. You are going to have that rigid neck. It is going to be pump action. You're going to have your normal loading procedure here, and you are going to have that standard air release. But with this gun here, being as it's your more standard gun, you are going to just have the 14-ounce cartridge option going into this one, which is your most standard. So what you're going to find most places is going to be that 14-ounce cartridge. So you're still going to be able to use this with all of those different types of grease. Now with this one, you are going to have the 10,000 PSI rating as well. So you are going to be able to put in that grease into those tight spots. You just won't have the extra options for the bulk loading and the 16-ounce tube. Now moving over here to the pistol grip options, these are what a lot of people are going to use. They're just a little more functional. You can use them in a few different places, being as that you are going to have those hoses on them to be able to reach those different places a little easier than the rigid, but you aren't going to get the amount of pressure with these pistol grip guns that you get with the pump action. So once again, guys, we'll start over here with our heavy duty option. Some of the features to it is we are going to have that 18-inch hose. This makes it great for when you're trying to get in those tight spots. Maybe you're having to reach around underneath. Wherever you need to get, you do have that flexible hose that you'll be able to reach those different sections. Now, once again, with the heavy-duty option here, you will have that 3-way loading again. So we will be able to do the 14-ounce cartridge, 16-ounce cartridge, or the bulk loading. We still have our standard fill system here with guide rod and plunger. Now, one feature with this gun that we don't have with the pump action is you are going to have an option here where you can choose to either fill with more volume in the top position, or you can do more pressure if we go down into the bottom section here. So once again, with the heavy duty, you are going to have that heavier head to create more pressure. So with this one, we will be able to put out 7,500 PSI. Now also, we do have the standard option in the pistol grip form. Once again, having that 18-inch hose, being able to reach all those hard to reach areas with that coupler on the end. You are going to have the standard air release, making it easier to load those cartridges, and it is going to have that nice grip handle here on the end, making it easier to hold on to when you're trying to get into those different spots. And it has the powder coat finish like we saw on the pump action. This is also going to make for a nice non-slip grip whenever you're trying to hold this and getting it into those positions. Now, since we are moving down to the standard duty in this grease gun, you are going to have a max PSI of 5,000. So, you know, if you're trying to go into those areas that are super tight, trying to push that grease through, we might want to consider looking into that heavy duty option. But for most applications, this gun is going to be great for what you're going to need it for. As you can see behind me, that's the one that I have hanging up that I use here in the shop when I'm working on different pieces of equipment. So it's a very capable grease gun and should suffice in almost all situations that you have there. Next, here in the middle, we have our air grease gun option. Now this is going to be a nice option for you if you're working in a big shop. You have that air available to you, and you're going to be greasing things that are easy to get to with that rigid end, which is what's going to come standard. Now, keep in mind, guys, we do have these rigid ends on the air grease gun here and the 2 pump action, but just know that these can be switched out. You do have the removable end here where you could go on with a hose style fitting. You just want to make sure that whichever hose style end you get is going to hold up to the pressure that that gun can put out. So keep that in mind whenever you see these different options here. Now, on the air gun specifically, the great thing about an air grease gun is it will be continuous flow. You simply have a trigger mechanism here that's going to use that air to push that grease into those spots. You do have that standard 1/4 inch quick coupler here on the end, which is what most people are going to have in their shop. But just know that if you are going with this option or looking into this, you will need those 1/4 inch couplers there. You are going to have that standard 14-ounce loading cartridge here in the tube. You're going to be able to use those 14-ounce cartridges. Once again, the easy load system here with the plunger pull, and you will luckily, with the air grease gun, you do have an air release built in, so you will not have to push that button down to release that air. Once you go in with that tube, going with that plunger, should be very easy there. So you will need max pressure of 75 to 100 there to make sure you're getting the right amount of flow, but these will operate anywhere from 40 to 100 PSI coming out of your air compressor. So great option if you're needing that continuous flow, working in that shop where you have air available, or maybe you have that air compressor on the back of your pickup. The air grease gun could be a great option for you. So there is the John Deere air grease gun. To my right and my left, I have 2 battery options. Now these are going to be, more top of the line. These are going to be the items that you're going to want to keep around if you have a lot of equipment to grease. Maybe you're that big farmer, or maybe that custom applicator, or you're a custom service tech or custom lube tech that's going to be going out and greasing these different machines using this thing all the time. The battery option is definitely something that you should look into. And luckily, John Deere offers 2 different options here. We've got a 14.4 volt and a 20 volt. Now, some of the differences between these: with the 14 volt, you're going to be able to get rid of or put out 15 tubes of grease on one charge with this battery. Also with this grease gun, you are going to get 2 batteries, being as it is that lower voltage. You're not going to be able to put out as many on one charge as the 20 volt. So it does offer 2 batteries with this kit. You are going to have that Extreme Flex 3-foot hose here. So once again, guys, for anybody that's going to be doing a ton of greasing, like I said, maybe you're that big farmer, that lube tech, and you're doing greasing every day, this is going to be a really nice feature, along with the mobility of that battery, so you can reach all those hard to reach areas with that extra 12 inches of hose, as opposed to the 18 on the pistol grip. You are going to get a standard 110 volt 60-minute charger with either one of these guns. So just keep in mind, it's going to take about 60 minutes on a dead battery with the charger time on these. And then also, being as that these are, the more heavy duty battery powered units, you are going to be able to put out that 10,000 PSI like you would here on the pump action. So very good option there on that 14.4 volt. Some of the differences moving up to the 20 volt, obviously we've got that larger battery. So we are going to be able to do 20 to 25 cartridges of grease on one charge. Once again, guys, you are going to have that standard 110 volt 60-minute charger. So you're going to be able to go through more tubes of grease. It's not going to charge faster, but you are just going to have the one battery. So you're going to almost be able to double what you're doing with the 14.4 volt with that 20 volt. Now, some also of the nice things that this machine has here that the 14.4 volt doesn't is you are going to have this LCD display That's going to be able to show you all the different things such as battery and how much grease you have in the grease gun. You're also going to have 2 different rates of flow here. Now, rate of flow is a big deal when we're talking about comparing these grease guns. And on this one, you are going to have 2 different ones here. So you're going to have a low and a high. On the low, you're going to be able to put out 4 ounces per minute. And on the high, you're going to be able to put out 6 ounces per minute. Now, one way that this varies from the 14.4 volt is that you're only going to be able to put out 5.6 ounces per minute, which is still very good. It's very close to the high option on this 20, but that's going to be consistent no matter what you're doing. It's just going to put out the one rate of 5.6 per minute. So you do have options here. You're also going to have on this gun, you are going to have an LED light on top, as you can see that there, with the button here at the handle, so you can toggle that on and off. You know, if you're in those situations, maybe you're greasing early in the morning, late at night, or just in those dark areas, you will have that light on this grease gun that you will be able to use. So very nice feature there. Once again, with this one, you do have that 3-foot hose able to reach those hard to reach areas. So great options here, like I said, for if you have all those things that you need to grease. Maybe you're greasing all the time. Battery option is definitely something I would look into. And last but not least here, guys, we have our mini grease gun. Now this is a great little option, especially for homeowners, maybe something that you're leaving in your pickup in case you need to kind of grease on the fly. It is going to come with this smaller tube where you are going to be able to use 3-ounce tubes of grease. So they are obviously quite a bit smaller than the 14, but once again, guys, this is something that you're going to use in a pinch. So you do, it's going to be easy to hold, easy to store somewhere, easy to keep, like I said, in that pickup or maybe that trailer, whatever it is. Nice to have handy here in the shop for if you just need to do those small jobs, but that mini grease gun is an option there, and it is a nice tool to have around. So with that, I'm going to take the 20-volt grease gun here and one of our pump action grease guns and show you just how fast we can clear a tube of grease through these. Now, we talked about on the 20-volt here that we're going to be able to put out 6 ounces per minute, and that's going to be with the 14-ounce tube is what I'm going to use today. So with that math, you know, we should be able to go through a tube of grease in just a couple of minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a timer on my phone here and track that time to see how quick that takes. And then next I will move to the pump action and see just how long it takes for me to clear a tube here. Now keep in mind, guys, I may get a little fatigued running through this. I'm going to try to do it as fast as I can just so you can see kind of those rates and see the difference in how long it takes there. All right, so we'll start by loading these 2 guns, and we'll go ahead and get them primed, pump enough grease through them where we get, you know, a couple of pumps out of the gun before we start our actual time test. So we'll go ahead and load up the 20-volt here. Simply going to take our tube off, and we'll go ahead and pull our plunger all the way out. And what you'll see is you'll see a little bit of a groove there that you're going to put into a locking notch over here. So we'll get that. That's going to take our plunger from the top all the way to the bottom here. We'll go ahead and pop the plastic end off of that grease tube, and then we'll go in with the open side down. And then once we have that down in, what we'll do next is we will pop the top just like so. And then we'll go back onto our gun here. Now what we'll do is we will pull out and start to push our guide rod back in. Now once we're pushing that in, we're going to want to push our air release button here on the side. Now when going back in, sometimes you got to give these a little bit of a twist to get that guide rod to give, and then it'll go in just like that. And from there you are ready to start using this gun here. And we'll go ahead and get our pump action loaded here. It's going to be basically the same process. Pull our plunger down and make sure, now just so you can see that a little better, when you pull these out, you can see that locking notch there. And then once you get it all the way out, there's a notch also in the rod, and you're going to lock that into place just to keep that guide rod out of the way until you get your tube in. Once again here, taking our cap off, going in with the open end, making sure our sealed end is facing the top. Okay, go all the way down in like so. We'll go ahead and pop our top off here. Go ahead and release our guide rod here. Hit our air release, push up just a little. Make sure we get all that air out. And then back in with our guide rod. So I've got my phone out here with the timer ready to go. Like I said, I'm gonna start here with the 20 volt, see just how long it takes to put that out. I will put it on the high setting. That way we can see if it is close to true with that either 4 ounces per minute or 6 ounces per minute. All right, so we're showing a full battery and a full tube of grease. So I'll go ahead and pull the trigger here till we get the hose primed up and get a couple of pumps coming out. All right. All right, so now that we see the red coming out there, we know we've got it primed up. We've got all the assembly grease pushed through. And now we can go ahead and start our timer and we'll see where we're at right now. Well, guys, leave it to me to do the exact opposite of what I told you I was going to do. And we said we were going to do on the high setting. As I'm looking here, I actually have it set on setting number 2, which is the low setting. So I apologize for that. But we're pretty consistent here for saying what we were going to do there. With it putting out 4 ounces per minute with that 14-ounce tube, you would expect just a little over. Looking about 3.5 minutes. Being as that this was the initial use, it took just a little longer, and I had to slow up because when it told me that we were running low on grease, I had to check that out and look at that. So we added a few extra seconds that we probably shouldn't have had. So on that low setting, 4 ounces per minute, we were at 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Now, we would have expected right at 3.5 minutes, but like I said, took me a little longer as I stopped for a few seconds, checking to see what our grease was at and some things like that. But pretty impressive, guys. Under 4 minutes, emptying out a 14-ounce tube of grease with the 20-volt John Deere battery-powered grease gun. I would say that's pretty impressive. So now, guys, what we'll do is I'll jump over here to the pump action, try to get stretched out here, as I know I'm probably going to get tired doing this, but we'll see just how long it takes to empty the pump action heavy duty John Deere grease gun. So like we did over here, getting this thing primed up, getting a couple of pumps there, and there we are. We've got all red. That means we are coming through the tube of grease here. So now, guys, what I'll do is I'll start this timer. We'll see just how fast we can empty this pump action grease gun. Now let me just say, I'm 1 minute and 43 seconds in, guys, and I am definitely wore out. Judging by the 2 piles here, I'd say I'm about halfway through, but just had to take a second, you know, kind of shake those arms out so we can get back to going. So I'm 1 minute 43 in. Let's see what we can get done here. We're going to restart the timer. The times are very, very, very comparable. Even though those times are very comparable, there is definitely a huge difference between the two. I can honestly tell you that, you know, my arms are pretty gassed, you know, from running that thing, trying to go as fast as possible. whereas running this 20-volt battery gun was a breeze. But with the time here on the pump, we are at 3 minutes and 38 seconds. Now, like we talked about, we had 350 over here, but I definitely spent 12 seconds or so looking at the gun, checking things out. So the times are super comparable. Now, the other thing too is, being as if we're just holding this gun, moving that hose where we need to, we can be very much more consistent and more steady. As you can tell by the piles here, with this one, doing that pump action, you're having to move, you're moving that gun a lot. So that's one thing to keep in mind too, the ease of handling this one versus this one here, is that you are going to have that difference as well. But I am impressed. The times are fairly similar there. So overall, I think that was a good demonstration for you to see the difference between the battery and a manual style. All right, guys, so there you have it with our entire John Deere grease gun lineup. Everything from the battery power to the air to the pump action, pistol grip. Guys, John Deere carries one for any type of situation that you're going to need. And I hope that after watching this video, you learned a little bit of something maybe you didn't know, or maybe you got a better idea of which one of these guns is going to be best for you. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I would ask that if you like this video, if this helped you out, that you would hit that like button. Then also, guys, if you haven't already, we'd ask that you please give us a subscribe, as that helps us out as well. And also, guys, if you saw something here today that you think that you cannot live without, or something that would help you in your operation or in your day-to-day, or maybe you just want one of these awesome grease guns, I'm going to leave a link in the description below where you can go and directly buy one of these from me. And also, guys, we talked a lot about grease guns today and showed just one tube of grease here. But guys, there are many different greases out there that are offered by John Deere, and I've also already done a video over those different greases, so I'll leave a link to that video in the description below so you can check that out. And also, guys, if you're in need of any other John Deere parts for mowers, gators, small tractors, anything like that, make sure to check us out at west-equip.com/parts. And once again, I will leave a link to that in the description below where you can go check that out. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hey guys, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and go buy your parts at west-equip.com/parts.